currently live. I'm waiting for things to come up and show here. This is January 24th, 2023. I am Virginia Doll, and you're watching on a Facebook Live event, Virginia's Creative Stamping Corner. And I am getting ready to do a card demonstration in just a few minutes to, okay, there we go, to make sure that you, all right, I'm looking to see where I am on Facebook. Okay, I'm sorry, give me a couple of minutes here. I'm not sure why I do have difficulty finding this sometimes, and sometimes it's right there, sometimes it's not. So, okay, here we go. I'm going to go back out just a minute. There we go. I see myself now. Okay, very good. I think that's me. Let's see. Now live. Yes, it is. Okay, very good. Yes, I am going to listen for just a second to see if the sound is good. Okay, very good. Yes, I am going to listen for just a second to see if the sound is good. All right, and that looks very good. Okay, so I'm going to let that go. So I'm going to watch myself on two screens, and let's hope that this works well, and that technology smiles on us, so that we will be able to get going here. And I want to make sure I'm also able to see all kinds of comments and things. Not sure, please make a comment and let me know that you're watching and where you're watching from. I always appreciate seeing where my audience is, and also enjoy chatting back and forth with you if I can see your comments. And I do tend to focus really hard on the card that I'm trying to demonstrate, so that I don't mistelling you things or misgiving you information that you might need in order to make the same kind of card. So after that, I'm just going to go ahead and let's get ourselves started. I'm going to make sure that my closed captioning is on. I like to have that on for my hearing impaired friends. I'm me being one of those people that's hearing impaired, and let's see, that should work. And I'm going to expand. No, I don't need to expand that one. This one is the one I need to expand. All right, very good. Sorry, I digress. Okay, this is Virginia's Creative Stamping Corner, January 24th at 7 p.m. I'm going to do a card demonstration tonight, but first, before we get started with that kind of thing, I need to tell you a little bit about the company that I am a demonstrator with. I work with Stampin'Up. I have been a demonstrator for 19 years. We are a company out of Salt Lake City, Utah, or actually out of Utah. We have annual catalogs like this one, and you see scarring on this because this is my catalog, and I put a clear folder on top of this, or a clear sheet on top of this to keep it from getting all torn up on the outside. And I also do my own binding on it, so it's easier for me to use and flip through. So anyway, this catalog runs from May of 2022 through April of 2023. And of course, all kinds of wonderful ideas, and you can see I've got some ideas flagged and so forth in this catalog. Now, during the months, the early part of the year, from January through April, we have a mini catalog. And this mini catalog, which is what we're going to use products from this evening, is from January 5th until April of 2023. Now, in this product, or in this catalog, the items are seasonal. In other words, probably pretty much, I call it connected to the various holidays that start in January and run through April, spring and Easter and birthdays and holiday, those kinds of holidays. all those celebrations of life, and so forth and so on. So that's what we're going to be using tonight. And I'll show you a little bit more in depth the suite of products that we're using in just a second. And one more final thing, right now, until the 28th of February, there is a sale going on, and we do this once a year. This celebration started on January 5th and will run until the 28th of February. What can happen is, and that's another reason why I showed you the annual catalog and the mini catalog, if you make a purchase of $50 or more, you can earn or you can get free items from this celebration brochure. And those items include stamp sets, a designer series paper. Let's see what else. That's pretty much, those are the things that are in it. Stamp sets. Here's an example of a stamp set. And of course, we always provide many different kinds of card examples for you to show you what you can do with this card. And of course, you don't have to, you're not limited to that. Whatever supplies you might have or supplies that you purchase from Stampin' Up. Okay, here's another stamp set. Those are available. This is a designer series paper stamp set, or free designer series paper. Many of these products coordinate with products in our mini catalog, and this coordinates with the Dainty Delight series of products. And I've already demonstrated one of these cards fairly recently, a couple weeks ago, I believe. I love, 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 love this paper. It is just fabulous, and I think it's going to be very popular. The items in this brochure are available while supplies last, or until February 28th. There have been many, many times when our supplies are exhausted and we can't get any more. So if you see something that you like, the wisest thing to do is to go ahead and hop right on it and purchase it. And then that way, if you want one of these free items, and you have either a $50 or $100 or more order, you can get these items for free. This is another designer series paper pack. Most of them are 12 by 12. This one is another 12 by 12 designer series paper pack that coordinates with one of our stamp sets and the mini. This coordinates with the mini, the set and the mini as well. Let's see, here we go. Two more stamp sets. Now some of these are photopolymer, some of these are cling stamp sets. All right, here is a large, and this is for a $100 order. This is a 48 sheet designer series paper set of 12 by 12. All right, here's another, and some examples of how that paper is being used. Here is a host set that you can get with a qualifying host order. Okay. And then, of course, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you a little bit about the opportunity to join. It's a really great time to join. There are three options for this. You can get this mini emboss and cut machine, your choice of $175 of Stampin' Up products for only $129. Or you could get the original mini stamping and emboss machine and your choice of $175 of products for only $129. Or you can get your choice of $175 in Stampin' Up products for only $99. So there are three different options there for you. And this is kind of a sneak peek, or it is actually a sneak peek of a new color, because every year Stampin' Up rotates some of their colors, what we call end colors. And those end colors will be retiring at the end of May. And so when those go out, new ones come in with the new catalog, the new annual catalog, which will be premiering, I believe, in June, I think. All right. So anyway, there's that information. Okay, so enough about that. Let's go and look right away at what's going on with our with our mini catalog. Let's find the group or the suite of products. It's right here, and I'm going to have to show it to you in two screens here. These are examples of how you can use the stamp set, the dies, and the paper, and the embellishments to make cards. Okay, these are just a few cards and or tags. Okay, all right. This is a wonderful resource. All of our catalogs have all these resources that are available. These are ideas for you to either duplicate on your own, and we call that casing, which is copy and share everything. We encourage you to do that. Make sure though that if you do copy someone's design, you actually give credit to that person if you're going to go ahead and make it and share it with others. Okay, so that's so. But here are the actual products that are part of this suite. It's the Rain or Shine suite, and it is 160556. It's $85.25. The stamp set, which I will show you in just a second, is a cling mount stamp set. The dies, and this is what the actual size of the stamp is. There is an embossing folder, there are embellishments, and there's designer series paper. We've done, I should say, designer series specialty paper, okay, or specialty designer series paper. There's something very special about this paper, which you will see in just a minute. And one of the things I really appreciate that Stampin' Up does is we give you all these colors that are Stampin' Up colors, but these are colors that you could that match the paper. That gives you a place to start when you're trying to create a card, and you can see how well those colors go with the designer series paper, and go from there with your card base and so forth. So, okay, so there's that information. All right, so let's look at the card that we're going to make tonight. Rainy days are better with you, and you can see that I did a little bit of embellishment on my envelope. I used some of the designer series paper, which is the same designer series paper on my card, and I want you to notice there's a little bit of sparkliness to that. That is on the designer series paper. One side with the print is, one side of the designer series paper is embossed. All right, so there you see the embossing right there. I did not do that embossing. The paper came that way. All right, so there's that, and then here is the card that we're going to make tonight. And I do always try to put a little something on the inside. All right, just sort of a little to coordinate a little bit more with the decoration or the focal points on the front. And I did stamp on the designer series paper. You can see it's slightly muted, but of course this is a rainy day. Things are muted when it's rainy. So that's what it looks like using the same colors that I used right here. And I will tell you in a few minutes, those are stamping blends. We'll talk about that as I come to those. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to show you a little bit up close and personal. Here's the Playing in the Rain set. Sweet, sweet, sweet set. The pictures here are pretty true to size as far as the stamps are concerned. And these are cling mount, that's what we call. These are our red rubber stamps. They have plenty of cushioning, okay, so that when you stamp, you can stamp on a hard surface and don't have to worry about missing any of the image that you're trying to stamp. And of course they're all mounted, and I keep the backing of my that my stamps come off of first, so that I can keep them all in order, and I know that two stamps are missing from my stamp set. So I'll show you what those two stamps are in just a couple seconds. All right, so that's Playing in the Rain. Playing in the Rain also is the name of the die set as well. And so all of these little pieces in here are dies that cut out not only the items in the stamp set, but it also, many of them also cut out many of the items on the designer series paper that I'm going to show you in just a couple of minutes. So I thought you'd enjoy seeing that, and I will show you what I did with some of them. Most of the ones, I mean, it's very tempting to just use the designer series paper. Two of the cards that I have for you, I did use the designer series paper primarily. Um, but the final card that I'm going to show you is where I actually went ahead and made the card using the stamp set and using the dies to cut it out, of course. So there's that. With part of the suite is also an embossing folder. This is your a standard embossing folder. So if you have a Stampin' Cut and emboss machine, you just use the base plate and two of the clear acrylic plates to put this through. Okay. All right. To put this through the machine, and it makes a really nice impression, which you will see in a few minutes. In addition, I used a couple of other die sets. I used the Stylish Shapes die set. Okay, I used the banner. And I also used the framed florets. I used this die right here, the frame. Right? These are in the mini catalog. Okay? These are in the annual catalog. All right? Okay, so there we go. Get us going there. All right. And let's see. I'm going to try to see here if I can move myself back over. Let's see, where's my, there it is. Okay. And see if I can get myself in there. Let me see if I am on this part of the page. No, I'm not yet. Okay, so I'm going to move myself back to the other page. Okay, because I'm not seeing comments right now, and that's kind of throwing me a little bit. But that's okay. Maybe people are watching a little bit later, and we'll come back and make comments later. All right. So, anyway, let's get into the card, and let's not spend more time blathering around. Let me show you the paper. The paper is called Rain or Shine. These are the cardstock colors that coordinates with the rain or shine. Of course, the basic white, Old Olive, Mango Melody, Flirty Flamingo, Cajun Craze, Balmy Blue, and Basic Black. Those are the colors that are the ones that coordinate with the cardstock pieces that coordinate with the designer series paper. All right, here is the specialty designer series paper, and I hope you can see there's one side that actually does have the embossing on it, the other side does not. So I'm not sure. I'm going to try to, there you go. I give you a little bit of an idea of many of the things that are embossed on those. The clothing, the umbrellas, the turtle shell, the flower, and even these little flowers, they're not embossed, but they're certainly something that you could do a little fussy cutting on and actually use those. I had tried to use those on the front of this card, but it didn't seem to work very well for me. So I decided to do something different. All right, here is the paper on the other side. Okay, now look at this. This is raindrops, and I think actually I have it upside down. All right, so here is the raindrop paper. You can see that. That's Balmy Blue. And here is the paper on the other side. These are more generic. All right, I wish that would calm down there. Get. All right, here we go. Another piece, and these, I'll go back in just a second and show you which dies cut this designer series paper out. There's that. Here's a piece like I used on my card. You can see the embossing. All right, and that actually goes like that, I think. Okay. This piece is gorgeous. It makes actually a wonderful piece for scrapbooking. But you can make many, many really lovely cards with it too. The clouds are embossed around the edge. And here is the background piece. And then finally these umbrellas. These are so sweet and so cute. This umbrella does cut out with one of the dies. Okay. And then that background piece there. Okay. All of the animals on this page cut out with the dies. Okay. And I think you can probably figure out by just looking at the shapes which ones those are. There's a little stump, there's a little bridge, here's a kite in here. These, let's see, I think these, well, these definitely go with the stamp set. The stamp itself cuts it out. But it does not cut out the little tiny ones, or the clouds in the other, on the other sheet. All right, so there we go. So there is all of that information for you. And let's go ahead and get started with our card. All right. Typically what I tend to do is, if you're new to my channel, I tend to try and get as much stuff ready as possible ahead of time so that you don't have to sit here and watch me pull one machine or another machine over and try and use that. I'm going to pull that in a little bit so you can see at least partially what the card looks like. All right. The envelope flap, which is this portion right here that folds over when you send your card in the mail. This is a piece of the designer series paper. Now it's directional, obviously, because there's the fatter part of the raindrop is the one that's being pulled by gravity to the ground. So you need to make sure that you are aware of the direction the raindrops are falling when you use this paper. And so this is a piece of 2 1/4 by 6 inches, and you're going to take that and you're going to glue that, and you can use glue of your choice. I tend to use the tape runner that we have, which is the Stampin' Seal. And then once you butt that up against that and glue it down, then you're going to make sure that you turn it over and trim the edges of it. Okay, there'll be just a little tiny bit of edge left there. Okay, we'll do that in just a couple minutes. Basic white, a basic white scrap you will need. Okay, let's see here. Ugh. I didn't punch all the little holes out. But this is the frame. You'll need another piece of basic white for the inside, and this is 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. So that's usually a little wider than we normally use, but I wanted to give you plenty of space on the inside to write. So that's going to be our insert for the inside of the card. You'll need another scrap of basic white to make your sentiment layer, and I used the basic gray, our basic gray ink pad for that. Okay, to do the words in there. This was cut out of the designer series paper using the die. So that's a piece of designer series paper. This is the designer series paper that I used, the raindrop version. Okay, there's balmy blue in that and a gray, and I used our darker gray because it seemed to be the one that matched it most. We have 3 different grays in our line of cardstock. And this one is 5 1/4 by 4. Our basic gray cardstock layer is 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. That's going to layer underneath of this piece here. Okay. And then our balmy blue cardstock, which measures, let's see, 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. All right. Now, all this information, I make a point of, many of you who have watched before know, I always put in the comments exactly what it is that I use to make the card that I'm demonstrating. So, and you don't have to use the same materials. You can use whatever materials you have on hand. But I think it's important for you to have the measurements of the card that I'm, the measurement of the card base and the layers and so forth and so on, that you'll need to make the card with. And then from there you can use whatever you might have on hand. All right. Okay, so I'm going to leave all those little pieces up there. We're going to be using some dimensionals and a couple of different kinds of adhesive. And let's go ahead and pull over my silicone mat and get our envelope ready to go. Now I could, if I wanted to, use the flirty flamingo side, but I wanted to continue with the idea of the raindrops. So I'm going to continue with that. And pardon me, I hope I don't get my head in the camera, and you get a picture of something gray. Anyway, so I'm going to start my adhesive, which is a Stampin' Seal, and I'm going to put 3 rows of Stampin' Seal on the envelope. Some people use their Tombow liquid glue. I use the Stampin' Seal. I use it in a couple places on the card, and the rest of the places I use glue or dimensionals. And I'm going to watch what I'm doing here, and I'm just going to kind of bevel this or edge this up against the fold or in the top of the flap of the envelope. Remember, I was watching the directions of my raindrops. Take my snips and cut around the edge. I usually try to take it real easy around the curves, but I do turn my paper so that my scissor hand doesn't get quite so tired. All right, and then I'm just going to go ahead and finish this off here. Okay, and there we go, and there is our envelope flap, all done. Okay, all right, let's go ahead and look at our card base. I need to do a little stamping on that, so let me go ahead and get that done. I did, in addition to using the basic gray ink, I did use the Memento Tuxedo Black. Stampin'Up sells this. I think you can probably also get this in some craft stores, but this is the best black that we've found to use. Here is the flower stamp set, and I'm just going to tap that on my Memento Black, and I'm going to make sure that I have it on the side that I want. Okay, and I'm going to just put this in the corner. We will come back and use that again in just a few minutes. Well, actually, while we're doing that, let's go ahead and do it on this paper as well. All right, we're going to put one over here and one over here. I always check my stamp to make sure it's inked and there's not extra ink around the outside. So just tap, tap, tap. Straight down, straight up. Okay, check it again. Every time I check it. Okay, looking at the direction of my stamp. Okay, very good. We're done. That's it. Okay, now I'm going to set that aside just a minute because I will need to color both of these. I'm looking for my lid. I always store my black and my StazOn, Memento and my StazOn pads upside down because the ink often, because of gravity, goes down to the bottom of the pad. And our pads are designed so that when they are opened, you're opening them up and this pad piece is upside down when you store it. So I always make sure that I make a point of storing my other ink pads upside down, even my Versamark, so that I don't have any problem with getting the ink to come onto my paper or onto my stamp. Okay, so you can start any way you want to. I'm going to go ahead and start, I think, with the green. This is my dark old olive. I usually use the brush tip. So here we go. I'm going to go in here and try to carefully. The brush tip is a little thicker, so I go very, very lightly on the paper. The brush, I find that the brush tip is darker than the other tip of the marker. Stampin' Blends are alcohol-based markers. So I'm going to go and I'm going to come back in and do the same thing on these. Now this is going to look muted, like I said before, and you just go ahead and fill in those leaves, and you of course have raindrops that are over top of some of those leaves. That's okay. It makes for a very interesting effect. All right, almost done with the leaves. You barely have to touch the paper with this marker tip. Okay, and it looks like I've gotten all my greens. That's the old olive, dark old olive. Now I'm going to go in here and I'm going to, since this is right here, my dark Daffodil Delight. Again, I'm going to use the brush tip, even though these little holes in the center of my flower are very small. And I'm just going to barely touch the paper. I want to make sure that you saw how I did this coloring on this designer series paper. Okay, that's done. Oops, on that one I have to remember I have to do this one too. Okay, this one will probably be a little easier to see. There we go. The dark Daffodil Delight is very, very close in color to our Mango Melody, so we tend to use those two together like that. All right, now here we go with this is my dark Flirty Flamingo. You notice I used all dark colors on this, and that's primarily because you're going to need the dark color to be able to show up on that designer series paper. So I'm just going to barely touch this. Just barely touch the paper. The alcohol markers do tend to spread just a little bit. The Memento ink is the best kind of ink to use with alcohol markers because of the fact that our other inks are water-based, and you don't want a water-based marker with that. Okay, there we go, with the alcohol. Okay. Okay. All right, sorry, that does take a little bit of time. Now, again, muted colors. So we'll go through here. But I'm trying to go through, and it's very minimal coloring on this. With the blends, you have the capability of doing, and that's why they're called blends, you have the capability of doing all kinds of shading and whatnot. Well, these are so small, you really don't need to do that. And you could use probably, if you wanted to, regular markers. We have our own line of Stampin' Write markers, and that certainly is an option for you to use that as well. But I just had the colors in this that matched so well with the designer series paper that I thought, well, I'll just go ahead and use these. And these are so easy to use, and they dry so quickly. All right, almost done. Again, we're coloring over some of the embossing on the designer series paper. That's okay if it doesn't come off. All right. Okay, very good. All right, so the coloring is done, those two pieces. Now let's go ahead with our, get this out of the way. This is our Balmy Blue card base, and I'm going to make a point here of making sure when I did this and folded this before, I always double check myself and make sure that I've got my edges even. And I'll show you what that means. If it bows up any at all, I want to hold it down tightly and kind of edge it up or squish it up and get a really good crease there so that my card is going to be even on the bottom. All right, so let's go ahead and add our inside insert, and I tend to turn my card on the side so that I can see all four edges when I'm putting the insert on there. And before I do that, however, I want to use my Stampin' Seal and put this on all four sides. Try not to use too much. It attaches very easily and doesn't come off real easily. It comes off a little bit more easily than the actual glue does once the glue dries, but I tend to use this because if I wanted to resend this card, if I got this card in the mail and I wanted to resend it to somebody because I thought it was just really nice for someone else too, I could just take this insert out and put a new insert in. If you have the material to do that with, the basic white or white cardstock, so that you could do that. And I'm trying to get this as even as I can. And there we go, all the way around. Okay, good. That is the inside of our card. Now, to construct the outside of our card, this is really easy to do. I'm going to use my Tombow multi-purpose liquid glue. Stampin' Up sells this as well. This is also something that you could purchase at Michael's, I believe, but I believe Stampin' Up actually sells it cheaper than Michael's does. And it is a very good glue. The reason I like using the multi-purpose glue is because I have very narrow borders. Sorry, let me mention this. You do see that the alcohol marker does bleed through a little bit on the other side, so that's something to be aware of when you're doing coloring with alcohol markers. All right, so, but I have a very narrow border on here, and I'm going to try and make sure that I get that on there, and the glue allows me to kind of smoosh it around a little bit in case I don't get it exactly where I want it the first time. It's a little harder to move that around with the tape runner. Okay, now this one I am going to take and use my my dimensionals. Sorry, I have the regular size dimensionals. We also have small dimensionals. You can see there's a different size there. We also have them in black. So I'm going to use this, and I'm going to, actually what I did, I might not use that on that one particular one. I wanted to show you this. This is a small, a regular size sheet of the small dimensionals. It has all this border left over after you use all those small dimensionals. Well, I don't like throwing that away, so I will use that. And it's like a long runner, a long piece of dimensional, and I will put that on the edge of my card. Treat that like a dimensional. It is a dimensional. I'm going to pull this one off of this side. It should be the same length as that one. All right, put that right there. I do not throw much away in my craft room. I'm also very, not funny about it, but I'm very careful not to take away or waste any of my designer series paper or my other supplies. I try to use them as much as I can. I'm going to use this down here on the bottom. You can see that. And then I'm going to use these two pieces on the top, which leaves me with tiny little pieces up there, but not to worry. I will be able to do that. And we should have this popped up enough so that we don't need to really worry. It's all the same depth or dimension. Okay. All right, so there we go. And then I think I will use my dimensionals again when I pop up my fox. Okay. All right, so now one of the ways that you can release the backing of your dimensionals is to just kind of push down, and once you've burnished it on the back of your card, and just pull it off. There's little strips. Okay, just make sure you pull that off. And sometimes if you use too many little pieces, then you have to double check yourself and make sure you got all the backings off of your dimensional pieces. Okay, here we go. There we go. Now, this is a little tricky. I want to make sure I get this on even, because again, there's a very small border and make sure that I'm putting it on the correct side of my card. So I'm looking to see where the insert is. All right, and I'm going to put this, I'm going to hover over the top of my card until I can see that I have about an even border all the way around, and I'm going to just gently lay it down, see if that works pretty well. It does. And then I'm going to push it down. All right, and that gives it a little dimension. All right, and I'm going to now add onto this our frame from the framed florets. Again, I'm going to use just a tiny little bit of glue. I'm going to use some dots of glue. So I'm going to squeeze very lightly the thickest part of the frame. I'm going to do it on all four edges. Okay. Ah, Deanna, I can't see your comment just yet. Here we go. Yay! I'm glad you got here. Thanks for being here. This is the Rain or Shine suite of products and the new mini catalog. And you can go back and watch the replay. Oh, and by the way, I really wanted to mention, I now have YouTube viewers. I have started putting my videos up on YouTube, and I'm trying to figure out exactly how I'm going to do or get them connected to my Facebook page, but my YouTube channel has the same name as this. So it's Virginia's Creative Stamping Corner, and you can go back at any point in time to YouTube, type in Virginia's Creative Stamping Corner, and you can go directly to my channel, and you'll be able to watch any video I have. I haven't put them all up yet because I have to kind of find them all because I've downloaded them on various machines that we have. So, or various computers, either the laptop or the desktop, or whatever. So I have to kind of go in here and figure out what to do there. My daughter was helping me when she was here earlier, and I'm really excited about being able to provide that. I already have several people who have okay, hold on, let me see. Wait a minute before I tack that down. I want to make sure that when I put this frame on, I'm only tacking it down in two places. Because I'm going to put it on here, I'm going to kind of dry fit it as to where I want it to be. So I'm going to put a dimensional on one corner and then the opposite corner of the flag, or this little sentiment piece. I'm going to go ahead and clear those and use some more of these dimensionals on my dear little friend here. I want to make sure he pops up nicely. Okay, I think that's probably pretty good. Okay, and I'm going to put him on first. I call him Sebastian. We're putting Sebastian on first. Sebastian's out for a walk in the rain. Some days that could be really a lovely thing to do. So there he is. And I always check to see if there's a shiny side, because when the sides are, when the backing isn't on, or is on, it's not shiny. But when it's off, you can see shiny. So I'm looking at that. I'm going to try to put this down here. So I've got plenty of room for our little friend walking in the rain. Okay, here we go. And taking the backing off of this. And it says, rainy days are better with you. I figured that was a very lovely friend's card that you could certainly use. Okay, there's my, okay. And I want to make sure I get that as even as possible before I push it down. That looks pretty good. All right, so rainy days are better with you. And that's what I did. So I thought that was kind of it's a little muted, it's a little different. There are ideas on Pinterest of all kinds of ideas with this stamp set. the Rainy Playing in the Rain stamp set. So there you go. And that is, I thought, a really sweet little idea. And we went ahead and made our envelope using the designer series paper, watching our direction. Okay. And so I'm going to pull some of these things out of the way. If you haven't already, please make sure that you share my video. That way your friends and people who are part of your Facebook group can see what it is that I do. They can see my demonstration, and perhaps they will be interested in doing that. Oh, I forgot to show you this. This is another item in the suite of products, and it's the loose daisy embellishments, and they're tiny little plastic pieces with white daisies and yellow daisies with little leaves and so forth. And so anyway, I didn't use those on any of the cards this time, but I did use it on something I'll show you in just a second. So it's a cute little thing I found and got me started on this stamp set. All right, I want to show you really quickly though, this is what I did with some of the pieces that are, there's a little piece there that I always save my little die cut pieces. I always die cut more than I need. And here's some little, you can fussy cut these out. And I just took them off the paper. I didn't want to throw them away. Nice little images. So I kept those, and so I put them inside my little Ziploc bags. Many of these bags come with, the loose containers that you get. They're stored in these. Once you start using them, you don't need to use these. So I hold on to the bags. Here are some of the, really, really quickly here, some of the items that are, this had to be fussy cut. Okay, remember that's that designer series paper that has the embossing on one side. Okay, see that? And then there's a design on the other side. These are the ones that had to be fussy cut. These are the ones that were cut out with the dies. All right, there's several rabbits. Here's the turtle on that one. Here, and you've seen this one already. All right, and I also even keep the ones that are partial pieces, just in case I want to kind of tuck in a turtle somewhere or a rabbit or whatever, a little piece just to kind of add a little interest. So that's what I did with those extra pieces, and I didn't waste any of that designer series paper. All right, so here's that. Now this is one that I saw, again, I believe was it Tina Wardell? No, the next one I'm showing you is Tina Wardell. This one I saw in isn't that darling? That is so cute. Again, that's the designer series paper, and I showed you that paper, that the clouds are embossed. And here, that's the top part of this piece of paper. And then these are part of your die set. Okay, that's designer series paper. All right, and then this little fella is already colored and embossed and all that for me. And then Oh Happy Day using the Mango Melody color. And then on the inside I did the flowers again. You could also do these flowers on the front of your envelope if you wanted to, or on the back of the envelope. Depends on how you want to do that. So there's that. I thought that was so cute. All right, and then finally, this one I saw with Tina Wardell. This one I decided to use the umbrellas, which was just darling. And again, that's, embossed. The umbrellas are embossed. And the pink one is one of the ones that is actually cut out with one of the dies in the die set. But this little guy, see, I stamped all of this. And then I fussy cut this little guy out, cut this out with a die, and cut these out with the die. This is the embossing folder. And I used, let's see, it was the stitched rectangle die set. And this is the Raindrops, what's it called? Raindrops embossing folder. It's a standard embossing folder. Then I just popped everybody up, and there's Sending Happy Thoughts, came from another stamp set. And of course it's on a white card base. I did not put anything on the inside of that, but I just thought that was just so adorable. Okay, Sending Happy Thoughts. Sometimes we need to do that for some friends who are having a hard time. All right, so there are the cards that I made. I hope you enjoyed that. Next week I'll be back on the 31st. It's going to kind of a busy week for our family. We have two birthdays pretty close together. The old folks here have birthdays. And then we'll be busy with that. Scott's birthday is on Sunday. But he and I will be the same age for about 4 days. And then I'm 361 days older. So, and my birthday's February 2nd. So that's Groundhog's Day. All right, so there you go. I thought you would really probably enjoy these, and I hope you can see them. I love that little bridge and that kite. That is so cute. All right, so thanks so much for watching, and if you're watching the replay, thank you again. Please leave a comment one way or the other, and that way I'll know who has seen my video, and let me know if you enjoyed it. Was I loud enough? Did I explain things well enough? And again, at the end of the video, I'll make sure that I write down exactly what materials I used, and that way you can duplicate the card if you want to. Only that one. One I wanted to show you really, really quickly. I'm sorry, I almost forgot. I mentioned that I used the embellishments. This I made and kind of got me started with the designer series paper. Oh, I've got a cat hair on here. I'm going to have to figure out how to get that off of there without tearing apart the card. Cat hair everywhere. Oh. Okay, but that's a little desk organizer, a little calendar desk organizer I saw online. And actually, it was a British demonstrator who was doing it. I thought that was so cute, so I decided to do that. That's one of the dies that cuts out that little tree stump. All right, so there you go. Cute idea for a calendar. Little your scissors or something can go on one side of it, like your snips or whatever, and then you can put I don't know if you want, not an ink pad, but something maybe like this on one side, or whatever you might happen to use a lot, like a Post-it note or something. That would be cute in there as well. All right, so let me let you go and have a wonderful evening, and tomorrow stay dry and warm. I think it's supposed to be not too bad tomorrow, but it's supposed to be wet. So take care of yourselves and stay healthy, and hopefully I'll see you next week. Take care.